Hi, my name is Heather Von Ruden, and I am coming here today to tell you about our foster care journey. We are licensed foster parents, my husband and I, with Therapeutic Service Agency out of Pine City, Minnesota. And we just wanted to come and share a little bit about our experience in foster care and why we are advocates for well-trained foster parents. With Therapeutic Service Agency, we are considered a therapeutic home, and I'm really grateful for our children that have come into our home, that we have had the training and the knowledge that we have, understanding where they come from and what we can best do to help them through this traumatic experience. So, our journey began in the spring of 2017. We first were starting to get licensed with another agency who was merging with another agency, and we were feeling like it was not a great fit. And upon going to a car seat safety class, we chatted with some people from TSA, and we said we were in the middle of licensing, but we weren't feeling very confident. And a foster parent there who had been with the organization for many, many years said, I highly suggest that you call Wendy. And so I did. I believe the next day, it was in the evening that we had a class, I believe I called Wendy the next day, chatted with her, and within a few minutes knew that this was where our foster care journey was meant to head. And so Wendy came out to our house to meet my husband and I. And at our first meeting, our children were not there, but we told them about our family dynamic and kind of what we were looking to do with this foster care journey. And so, starting that in the spring, it took us about 4 to 6 months to I can't remember exactly when we started. So it was about 4 to 6 months, and it took us that long to get licensed. There's classes that you need to take, and coming from a small rural community, there isn't a lot of offerings on some of those classes, and so some of those things were just they were on the calendar, and we just needed to check them off and get them done. And then your licensor also has to do a home study on you and everybody that lives in your home. So she had meetings with the children, was able to talk to them alone, and really decide that if everybody in the family was on board and if this was going to be a good fit for your family. So we decided that when we applied for our license that we unanimously everybody in our home wanted little kids, and so we had our license done for 2 children under 2 and under. And so at the time, we had 3 biological children in our home as well, and they were teenagers and a preteen at the time. And so we were licensed in August of 2017, and in September of 2017, we received our first call for 2 children. We were told it was a newborn and a 2-year-old. And at the time, and still currently, I ran a business from home, and then I worked out of the home as well. And so when I first got the call, I was like, whoa, no way. I don't know about daycare for a newborn. I will have to take off. And I think this is with even trying to keep them at home and run a business from home, I thought it was more than I could handle. And upon a few sleepless nights, we decided that we would call Wendy back up and asked if the children still needed a home. And indeed they did. And so because they were already in emergency foster care, we were given a week to prepare for them. So we had some stuff, but we were able then to get sizes of clothing and gender and all that so that we could have some stuff right away when they came. And so we had our intake. It was the two children and their social worker from their county. And then myself was down at the TSA office along with the licensor, Wendy, and our case manager at the time, who has since retired. And it was kind of overwhelming. The social worker and stuff, they were paging through pages, going over stuff, and all of this stuff was pretty foreign to me. But I was so glad that I had TSA there asking the questions, letting me know, like, okay, do you understand this? And do you have any questions? And they were right there at the intake. And so they knew everything that was said and the direction that this social worker told us that the case was going to be headed. And at that time, reunification with the children's mother was the plan. And so we had agreed to drive the children to visits, and I believe visits were going to be twice a week in the beginning. But after the first couple weeks of not showing up, that parent actually got their visitation suspended and never regained it through the case. So our children and us were never able, from the time that our children came into our care, to have a relationship with a biological family. And they did get to pursue some visitation that was supervised with a grandparent, and we were able to just drop off, but we also didn't have communication. It was a supervised visit, and the case, they didn't want anybody meeting face to face. And so we didn't have any phone numbers or anything. And so I would print off pictures, and then it was like Christmas time, and Christmas time was approaching. And so I had gotten a gift for the kids to give to their grandma, and visitation supervisor always said that the grandparent was very appreciative of the efforts that I made. And so shortly into the case, the grandparent that was visiting, that was going to be a permanency option, decided that the children were best off left in our care. And so at that time, we were asked if we would be willing to adopt, and we said yes. So at that point, when we were asked if we would be willing to adopt, the children, if we were not willing to adopt, probably would have went into a home that was wanting to adopt. So we had a lot of trauma already with our little ones. And so when we got them, they actually were 3 months and 17 months. They weren't newborn and 2. So things ended up working out just fine. But for daycare and all that kind of jazz that you're panicked about in the beginning, everything fell into line and it worked out just fine. And our children were lucky that we were licensed with Therapeutic Service Agency, which gave them the ability to receive play therapy immediately. And so I took them every week to, it was every week for a while, and then I think we went every other week as a case progressed. But I was able to go, and they were able to work through things with the therapist, and then the therapist was able to work with me to let me know what she was seeing and how we could best get through the things that we were experiencing at home. And so that was very, very beneficial to us, because I think had we not had that, we would have been crazy just because we didn't understand. And so also when we were licensed with TSA, I dove myself deep into wanting to know more about trauma and your ACE scores, which is your adverse childhood experiences, and FASD, which is fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, and a lot of things that I never had training on. So TSA offered trainings. I would go a lot of times with our caseworker and our licensor and other foster parents, and we would go and they would take us and really became very passionate about childhood trauma. So I have immersed myself. I am now in a career that I get to work with birth families and children. And so um, even though our case, I wasn't able to use some of that stuff and to help birth families through the situation, I am getting to use a lot of the training that I know. And when I interact with these families, I am very aware of the things that are going on and why they are happening because of all of the training. So, um, the kids we got in September of 2017 for our first case, and they actually, their parental rights were then terminated that spring. Things progressed pretty quickly because they did just back out and decide, I believe, that it was best for the kids to relinquish their rights. And so then in spring of 2018, we found out that we would be adopting them. And we were super excited. I was super excited that they didn't have to leave, and was super excited about the transformation that could occur with being in a stable home. And so then it took until June of 2019 for the adoption to be official. It takes a long time and there's a lot of paperwork, and not on my end. There wasn't a lot of stuff I had to do, but there's a lot of stuff that has to be done and then gets submitted to the state, and the state is the ultimate deciding factor is if you get to adopt these children or not. So June of 2019 it was done. And so we are still a licensed foster family, being that we have 5 children now in our home. Minnesota law is we can only have one more, but we have kept our license open, and if we get that call for another little kiddo, we are ready to take on another, I think. We'll see when that call comes and if we're still ready at that point. So that is a little bit about our journey, and I believe that our case went smoothly and everybody had really good communication because I wasn't alone. I had a case manager and I had people from TSA that were on our side. I wasn't alone at it by ourselves, not really knowing how the system worked and what questions to ask and timelines and all of that kind of stuff. And so we were really feel fortunate that we were very supported and had a very great experience. So I know it is a huge undertaking to your life, but if you have at all had a thought that this could be something that you might be interested in now or down the road, feel free to contact me if you want to chat with me before you make that call to Wendy at TSA. I would be more than happy to answer a few of your basic questions so that you know if it would be a good fit for you. So I look forward to having more foster parents in our area and the support and the network that we can bring to each other. So have a great day, guys.